For decades, John Travolta has existed in a rare space where fame feels almost timeless. His smile, his movement, and his unmistakable presence have lived in popular culture for nearly half a century. Yet even the most familiar faces carry unseen layers. Behind the confidence audiences admired was a man navigating pressure, expectation, and the constant demand to define himself in public. Travolta's life has never followed a simple arc of rise and fall. Instead, it unfolded through reinvention, resilience, and deeply personal choices made away from cameras. While fans watched a superstar, he lived as a father, a husband, and a man searching for balance. The contrast between image and reality shaped him profoundly. Understanding Travolta today requires more than revisiting iconic roles. It requires acknowledging the quiet evolution of someone who learned that survival in Hollywood depends not just on talent, but on adaptability and inner strength. Early roots of passion and discipline. John Travolta was born on February 18, 1954, in Inglewood, New Jersey, into a lively household filled with creativity and ambition. As the youngest of 6 children, he learned early how to stand out while still listening closely. His mother, Helen Travolta, a former actress and drama teacher, introduced performance not as fantasy but as a craft rooted in discipline. Evening rehearsals and family plays became his first classroom. From her, he learned that expression required commitment, not attention-seeking. These lessons stayed with him long after childhood. Even before fame, Travolta understood that talent alone was never enough. Practice, humility, and preparation mattered more. At 16, he made the difficult decision to leave school and pursue acting in New York City. It wasn't rebellion, but belief. That choice placed him on a path defined by risk, resilience, and relentless dedication. Breaking through. In a changing industry, Travolta's early career was shaped by persistence rather than instant success. He worked in touring productions, commercials, and small television roles, learning how to perform under pressure and rejection. His breakthrough came in 1975 with Welcome Back, Kotter, where his portrayal of Vinnie Barbarino captured audiences with warmth and humor. Fame arrived quickly, changing his life almost overnight. Soon after, Saturday Night Fever transformed him into a global phenomenon. The role didn't just elevate his career, it defined a cultural moment. Audiences connected with the vulnerability beneath the confidence. That connection continued with Grease, where Travolta became a symbol of youthful charm and optimism, yet success carried its own weight. Expectations narrowed, and the industry began defining him by image rather than range. Navigating that tension became one of the earliest challenges of his career, teaching him that popularity and personal growth rarely move at the same pace. Faith, identity, and personal reflection. Like many young performers navigating fame, Travolta explored spiritual frameworks that offered structure and meaning. He has spoken openly over the years about finding comfort in personal development practices that emphasize self-awareness and reflection. Rather than defining his life by labels, Travolta consistently framed spirituality as a private journey. He rarely discussed beliefs in detail, choosing instead to focus on how they helped him cope with stress and responsibility. Over time, his relationship with spirituality evolved, shaped by experience rather than ideology. As life presented both triumph and loss, his focus shifted toward values that grounded him emotionally. What remained consistent was his belief in personal responsibility and growth. Travolta never positioned himself as a spokesperson for any belief system. Instead, he emphasized the importance of choice, reflection, and learning. That approach allowed him to adapt as his life circumstances changed, without public declarations or dramatic shifts. The weight of family and loss. Few experiences reshape a person more profoundly than loss. For Travolta, family has always been central, and grief became a defining chapter rather than a passing moment. The death of his son, Jet, in 2009 altered his world permanently. Later, the passing of his wife, Kelly Preston, in 2020 marked another profound shift. Through both tragedies, Travolta remained private, choosing remembrance over explanation. He spoke through actions rather than interviews, focusing on his children and honoring those he loved. Grief didn't make him withdraw from life, but it changed his rhythm. He became more protective of his time, more intentional with presence, and more aware of what truly mattered. Loss taught him that strength isn't loud, it's steady. Carrying forward, Travolta showed that healing doesn't require public display, only honesty with oneself and devotion to what remains. Public scrutiny and quiet resilience. Living in the public eye means existing under constant observation, where moments are magnified and mistakes rarely forgotten. Travolta experienced this reality repeatedly throughout his career. From unexpected live television moments to tabloid attention, he learned that perception can shift faster than truth. Rather than reacting defensively, he adopted restraint. He addressed what mattered and ignored what didn't. This approach frustrated critics, but preserved his dignity. Over time, audiences began to recognize his composure as strength. He never allowed controversy to define him. Instead, he focused on consistency in character and work. Mistakes became humanizing rather than damaging. His response to scrutiny reflected maturity earned through decades of experience. Travolta understood that longevity in Hollywood requires emotional discipline, reinvention without reinvention, anxiety. Unlike many stars of his era, Travolta didn't chase trends. When his career slowed, he didn't disappear. He recalibrated. His return in the 1990s reminded audiences that versatility had always been part of his skill set. From intense drama to comedy and musical roles, he proved he wasn't confined to a single image. This phase of his career wasn't about reclaiming youth, but embracing range. Later projects reflected curiosity rather than urgency. Travolta reached a point where work became choice, not necessity. That freedom allowed him to approach acting with renewed enjoyment. He balanced mainstream films with passion projects, demonstrating that relevance doesn't require reinvention, only authenticity. His career became less about momentum and more about meaning. That shift reflected personal growth, showing that success doesn't always mean acceleration. Sometimes it means knowing when to slow down and choose intentionally. Fatherhood as his greatest role. Today, Travolta's identity is rooted less in celebrity and more in fatherhood. His relationship with his children defines his daily life and long-term priorities. He supports their interests quietly without pressure or projection. Whether celebrating milestones or sharing ordinary moments, he emphasizes presence over performance. Fatherhood offered him something fame never could: grounding. Through parenting, he found purpose that didn't depend on applause. His home life reflects routine, conversation, and shared experiences rather than spectacle. Travolta has spoken about teaching values like resilience, kindness, and self-belief through example rather than instruction. This approach mirrors the lessons he learned from his own upbringing. In choosing privacy for his children, he gives them freedom to define themselves outside his legacy. Finding freedom beyond the screen. Outside of acting, Travolta's passion for aviation offers him peace and perspective. Flying represents focus, precision, and escape from noise. In the cockpit, fame dissolves, replaced by responsibility and clarity. Aviation became more than a hobby. It became therapy. Through flying, he reconnects with discipline and stillness. This passion also reflects his desire for control in a world often shaped by unpredictability. Whether traveling privately or supporting aviation communities, flying remains a constant source of balance. It allows him to step outside narrative and into presence. That sense of freedom extends into his everyday life. Travolta now prioritizes routines that nurture calm, from wellness practices to creative exploration. His life today blends engagement with retreat. He remains connected without being consumed. That balance reflects wisdom earned over decades, proving that fulfillment often comes from passions nurtured quietly away from applause. a legacy still unfolding. At 71, John Travolta's legacy isn't frozen in nostalgia. It continues to evolve through choice, reflection, and restraint. He no longer chases validation or explains himself to the world. His confidence comes from alignment rather than approval. Audiences see a man comfortable with complexity, unafraid of quiet, and grounded in purpose. His influence spans generations, not because he remained unchanged, but because he allowed himself to grow. Travolta's story reminds us that resilience isn't dramatic, it's consistent. Through fame, loss, reinvention, and reflection, he remained present. His legacy isn't defined by controversy or headlines, but by endurance and humanity. He stands as proof that a life lived thoughtfully leaves a deeper impact than one lived loudly. And as his journey continues, it does so not under pressure, but with intention, guided by the lessons only time can teach.